So, let's recap for Puglandia. We are in rebuilding phase from getting decimated. We still have all of our lords. They got some members. Right now, we have to rebuild financially and just keep doing quests, doing just trading, killing bandits, and basically rebuild from getting our butts kicked in the war where everyone took us to Pound Town. We're going to be doing some smithing, some forging, but overall, just keep at it. Like that. Yay, 111 gold. But we'll still 900. Not bad. Not good. Yeah. 1500. But yeah, who's in our party? Everybody. Everybody's in our party. I'm probably gonna go back over to the Kazate lands, free people over there. What do we need here? Mounts. Yeah. And we'll be doing quests, like fencing stolen goods.
Yes.
May I ask your name? Crap. Well, that's one way to get a quest done. But we'll keep doing this. Keep earning money. We did that. Yeah, we did that. Go away. Arenas, quests, hideouts. And then once we rebuild financially, no more, Mr. Nice Guy. And of course, YouTube, John Stamos eating some hot wings. Oh my god, he's so beautiful. He's wondrous. Spiked helmet with face mask, let's go. What is that? That looks scary. Little warm up action. Hey, I don't like you. Hey, whoa, whoa. Hey, I know you. Oh, green team. Green team. Let's go. Can I borrow this? Is he dead? I'll take this. Alright. Sir? Really? Oh. Oh, mama. Oh, mama. Oh, God. These poor horses. Yeah! We did win. buddy. Hey, buddy. There's a buddy behind you. There's a buddy behind you. Let's go. Oh, my lords got knocked out. Oh, crap. Just keep swinging. Just keep swinging. Get the shield. Yes. Chance. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Fight me. Let's go.
And I'm proud of you. So we go out just as I'm finishing it. The stage door opens, and people are out there for autographs, screaming, "Uncle Jesse! Uncle Jesse! Say have mercy!" And I couldn't even look at him. I was so embarrassed. I was like, "Okay." And as I look over, and then I hear him, I think, they go, "James, say, Luke, I am your father. Luke, I'm same thing."
Right. Yeah.
And I look at him, and we just start laughing, and it was a beautiful moment, which kind of goes back to the philosophy. It's like I can't fight it, you know.
Yeah.
But did I answer your question? Fuego. That means hot. I remember. Excuse me. I used to work at my dad. Did anybody just pass out? That'd be funny. This is no problem. I got it. I should do that.
Yeah.
Pretend I didn't say that. I used to work at my dad's restaurant in Orange County, and we had these little green peppers, like these little chili peppers.
Yeah.
Big thing of them, you know. Not eating those. These are good. These are good. And
Go
my hands were
there.
And then one day I went to the restroom, put my hands out. Oh no, that last one just came back up.
Yeah.
And I haven't eaten hot stuff since he passed away. Where are your parents at?
My mom's passed, but my dad's still around.
Where?
In Chicago, yeah.
We play at Ravinia a lot. Do you ever go to that?
Yeah, he loves Ravinia. He loves Ravinia. He's
Oh,
like
yeah?
season pass. I think he was there like the other night.
Tell him, can we get him on the phone?
Maybe. Hold on. Let me grab my phone.
Is he funny?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he's camera ready.
Is
Here,
he
but we'll
sleeping?
give it a shot. Hold on. I'll just put this on speaker.
Chicago, huh?
Uh-huh.
Hey, son. How's it feel?
Come on.
Hey there.
Hey, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
I'm happy you picked up. Hey,
What are you wearing?
I'm gonna put you on the phone with John Stamos. You're actually on the show right now, okay? I'm gonna put you on the
What's
phone
his
with John Stamos. Mike.
Oh, hi, Mr. Evans. It's John Stamos.
Hi, John.
Meanwhile, he's going, who the fuck is this? Who's John Stamos? I was just talking about, I'm on your son's show. Are you proud of him?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's quite a show. I play with the Beach Boys, you know, and we're at Ravinia every other year. Have you seen the?
I've heard you play drums with the Beach Boys at Ravinia.
He does know who I am. Oh, you have? Thank you. Your son said you have season tickets and stuff.
Not season tickets, but like season
We
tickets.
don't have season tickets, but we go several times a year. And I do remember you being there with the Beach Boys last time we were down there. So
Cool.
The last time we saw the Beach Boys.
Anytime we're there, you have front row seats, backstage passes on me. I would love to meet you and see you after or before the show, and maybe even get on stage and sing Bob Moran with us.
I'll take you up on that.
Well, thank you, sir. Very nice to meet you.
I think we can destroy the history of the Beach Boys harmonies. It'll be wonderful.
I've already done that, so. Hey, nice to talk to you, and I'll see you at the next Ravinia show, maybe, huh?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, take care.
Your son's making a lot of money, by the way, so.
Somebody has to.
All right, love you.
Love you.
Love you too.
All right, bye.
That's great that you said I love you. That's so beautiful. Whoa. That's good. I still love
Rumble
Even though
yeah!
television.
I get it. You know, it's a cross-eyed bear over here. I was fascinated by your Grand Scheme podcast where you talked about the kidnapping of Frank Sinatra Jr.,
Yeah.
a story that somehow flew under my radar, even
Yeah.
as a true crime obsessive.
Okay.
This story is really like a Martin McDonagh film. You know, like
Yeah.
there are so many absurd twists and turns. A part for me that made me laugh was it's like, you know, Frank Sinatra says, you know, I'll give you $1 million.
Yeah, right.
Give me back my son. And
Yeah.
they're like, well, oh, $1 million?
Yeah.
We don't need $1 million. We just want like 240,000.
Yeah, it was part of the script. It was part of the script, and the dummy who was talking to Sinatra, you know, he said, how much do you want? And the guy says, 260. And the FBI was on the phone. It's $260 million. What the fuck? You know, all I have is $1 million. No, it's just $260,000. What? Yeah, it was crazy. It was, you know, and I sold it as I brought him into Netflix. We sold it on, right away. But this dummy wanted $1 million per episode and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Netflix, get out of here. And then I let it go for a while, and then I couldn't let it go, so I did this podcast. But I'm glad you knew about it. But yeah, you should do this in a pool
these
for the
guys
season.
are
What season?
damaged.
21.
21, yeah.
Let's add an element. Strip club.
Ooh.
Trying to get you laid.
Thanks, I need all the help I can get over here.
Me and Zagat and Coulier went to a strip club early on. The show got picked up for another season or something. We were in Culver City, working Culver City. Let's go to a strip club. And Bob was always very like, I'm too famous. It's all right. You know, put a hat on. Like, don't worry, I know the guys there. I'll take care of it. And Bob's got a hat thing. And we get there, and okay, good. Okay, thank you. And coming in here live, look at this, the boys from Full House. It's Uncle Jesse, Joey, and Danny. Give them a big round of applause. I was like, oh. Hot Ones live at the Rhino.
At the Rhino, at the Spearmint Rhino.
How'd you know?
I don't know. I guessed.
Do you live in New York? Why did you go to New York to be a journalist?
Yeah.
New York? And who's your favorite, Howard? Who were the old guys?
The most formative, like, people, Letterman, Howard, and then I used to listen to Loveline every night. Adam Carolla.
Jimmy was Jimmy.
Jimmy was, that was probably like my Mount Rushmore growing
Oh, really?
up. Like, I was like a weird kid. Like, I'd put like Howard on like tape or like whatever and like bring it to
Right.
school and like listen to it at recess and shit like that.
Really?
Like, fucking weird. Yeah.
Your
Or like
parents
my
let
dad. Yeah, my dad was like a huge Letterman fan. And then he would tape like all the episodes for the week, and then he'd binge them on the weekend, and I'd like watch them
You
with
watch it with him?
them and have him explain the jokes, like my mom's explaining songs. Like that was the whole
That's so
thing.
cool.
So yeah.
Do you remember the scene in Howard's movie Private Parts?
Parts?
I felt like, did you talk about it in an interview where you said when he came down as Fart Man and the whole thing?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at you.
Yeah, what was it? Because I didn't get the analogy.
So what I was saying is like when we did this show early on, like, you know, it was the more like, why did my publicist put me on this freak show? When they walk into the room, right? So that's how I was like making the comparison to Fart Man. Fart Man comes down, the whole crowd is going nuts. He blows up the podium with a giant fart. Everyone's going crazy, and then he walks backstage, and everyone's disgusted with him. You know what I mean? So that's what I was kind of like.
Right. Oh, well, that's how he was on the radio. People shit on him. They thought, oh, he's a dirty asshole, you know, and then all of a sudden he did. But here's my question for you. Who, in that scene, he comes down, and it's MTV, right? And
It's
the whole
MTV
thing's going
Movie
on.
Awards.
And what's his name? Who introduces him? It was,
Oh, good question.
like he goes, hey, ladies and gentlemen, oh yeah, it was me. Good research, you asshole. God, who was it? You know, I spend the whole week researching every person that comes in.
Oh, I
You're
didn't
talking
watch
about a
Private
scene.
Parts. I didn't watch Private Parts.
What do you
know
mean you
I
didn't watch it? You just talked about it.
I didn't. Not this week. Sorry, I watched it not this week, dude. I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
but you know the thing well enough to be quoting it and comparing it to
I'll tell you what I did watch.
Go ahead.
Never Too Young to Die.
That we got to talk about that.
All right, fine. Let's talk about that.
But the story on that was that Luke Perry did it. Did anybody throw that at you in one of these shows? Luke Perry was the guy who did it on MTV for Howard. And Luke Perry was, I'm too big to be on to work with you, Howard, on this shitty movie that you're doing. So he calls me at the last minute. Hey, Stamos, could you do me a favor? Like, he bailed. Could you do it? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. I flew out there. Me and Slash were there all day drinking beer, and it was great.
That's amazing.
But you didn't. I wasn't that. I guess you.
You schmuck baited me.
But you didn't know that. I mean, you would have said, You know the scene,
Well,
John. You were
I was
it.
in this. Yeah, I'm picturing the scene. I already know it's like a low camera shot. It's like to the ceiling, the
Yeah.
blue on the stage.
And then
like
somebody
blah, blah,
introduces
blah.
them, ladies and gentlemen.
Someone introduces
Yeah.
them. Who was it? Who was it? Who
Yeah.
was it? Was it Rob Lowe?
Funny. So all the comedians that bet on her have rubbed off on you. Huh? That was good, Robert. Okay. Do you ever have co-hosts on this thing?
No, why? Are you auditioning?
Yeah.
This is like, wow. Are you for real?
I'm fine. That was a joke. I do my own stunts. It's not that bad.
You're taking it better than I am. This one's never easy for me. Look at you. I'm humbled on this side of the table. You're nailing this co-host audition.
You think?
Yeah.
It gets hotter.
Yeah.
It's sneaking up.
Jesus.
Yeah. I know. I know.
Oh yeah. Now it's
Yeah.
a show. Now I get it.
I
Let's
know.
do anything.
I've never seen anyone try that move.
It's fine. No.
No. I know. Never easy. Never easy.
That's 8.
That's 8. So I understand that you once outbid Michael Jackson
What?
for one of the original Disneyland signs.
I can't hear. There's steam coming out of my ears.
Of all the Disney memorabilia and ephemera that you've collected over the years,
Ephemera.
is there one that you would call your holy grail?
That's what I get. You guys set me up, didn't you?
Schmuck baited you.
All these were just normal ones from Knott's Berry Farm.
I know.
Disney they had a warehouse full of stuff. The first thing on the auction was a big, gigantic sign outside of Harbor Boulevard. Michael Jackson wanted it. It was going to go for $1 million. I forgot about it, and then I was in my office, and I put it on, and I was like, oh shit, I'm winning this thing. I think it was like an hour left. Refresh. Call my business. I said, I think I'm going to win this sign, 32 grand. I was like, okay. How big is it? 14 by 8. No, 14 inches by 14 feet. By each letter is 14. It just gets hotter as you're talking.
I know.
14 feet by 8 feet. So they had to, helicopter it in. Ow. This is what killed Saget, isn't it? He would do that joke if he was alive, to me. He wouldn't have waited a year and a half either.
Keep it alive. Keep the name alive.
He would say the worst things. Yeah, that was terrible. And what goes into okay.
Here we go.
So it's hotter, but not as
It's hot, but it's not like the last one.
okay.
Not like the last one.
No.
Is it true that you watched Bobby Knight to study the best way to throw a chair when you took on the role of a temperamental basketball coach in the Disney Plus show Big Shot?
You don't even have cue cards either. You know that stuff. I'm not being funny. Like you're so good at this. Are you a sports guy?
I am a sports guy. I know you're not a sports guy.
Not
It's
in the least.
interesting then to me that you'd you're spending time with Jerry West, you're studying the film on Bobby Knight, and I'm curious as like a non-sports guy how you kind of like absorb that.
I had an easier time with the medical jargon on ER than sports stuff on Big Shot. So I just did my research. I studied, and a friend of mine knew Jerry West, so I went to meet him. And hello, Mr. West, thanks for allowing me to come to this rehearsal today. And first of all, it's not rehearsal, it's practice.
You call it
Yeah,
practice
like an
rehearsal.
idiot. And those aren't costumes; they're uniforms. And he was funny, and I did some jokes about him, like on talk shows when I was trying to promote it, how dumb I was. And he said, "Don't." And then he went on something and said, "That he was so convincing. He was so real. I was so proud of him. He really seemed like a real coach." Jerry West was managing the Clippers, right? And I thought they were a college team, and that pissed him off. Like they're not, right? Oh no, I thought they were pros. No,
They
wait.
are pros.
Oh,
They are
see?
pros.
And I thought they were college because I played a college, coach. I thought maybe, it's a college team.
All right, John.
Yeah. This is great fun. Thanks for having me. All right, this is the last one. Do I get to, will you send anything home with me?
You get all the sauces. You get every, go ahead. Take a look around.
He just looks at the camera.
Have you ever got this in your eye or anything?
Yeah, every hot sauce mistake that you can make, I've made. Like when you told that story about the green chilies and whatever, I've done that cross-pollination mistake. I've gotten sauce in my eyes.
Just the hired guys.
Everything. Every possible hot sauce mistake you can make.
Cheers.
Cheers, John.
You're like 300. You're 300 a day. Get in there.
Do that.
What am I paying you for?
The Wings of Death, John. A distant memory, all right? You've taken on the Hot Ones gauntlet, lived to tell the tale, and to close things out, what I want to do is put you to the test a little bit. We have a couple pairs of drumsticks here. I'm curious if you can teach me some sort of drumstick trick, which might be a challenge with our fingers soaked in hot sauce over here.
Okay.
But let's give it a shot.
Wow, I thought we were gonna eat more wings. What do you want to learn?
Whichever.
Do you want to try a paradiddle? Because
let's try it. Let's try
It's a common. So it's right, left, right, left, left. Right, left, right, left. That's good. That's hard.
There we go.
I broke the table. You want to learn how to spin them? Here, put the stick. Put it like halfway through there. Now just kind of whip it around, like.
Oh, how'd you do that?
Well, like this.
Oh wow.
See?
Well, that's incredible.
Yeah. Now I know why you doesn't have a.
You know.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I had, but if this will get you chicks. We should come over. I'll give you a good drum lesson.
All right, well, I'll take you up on that, John Stamos. And look at you taking on the Wings of Death, living to tell the tale. And now there's nothing left to do but roll out the red carpet for you. This camera, this camera, this camera, this camera, this camera. Let the people know what you have going on in your life.
Oh, I saw this bit. I have a book called If You Would Have Told Me. And that's it. But I'm going to tell, what I have going on is this episode is going to be airing soon. And I'm going to have a whole party. That's why I want to take some of these when I leave. I want to have a party. And everyone, I'll make everyone, do it, play along at home.
Love that.
Will you come over?
I will definitely. I will be there. I will be there.
Thank you, buddy. What a pleasure. You did so good. I did. You're a fucking. He just said they're never gonna air it. He whispered in my ear. This is so great. Did I get the job?
You're hired.
You're beautiful. You have beautiful eyes.
John Stamos.
Hey, what's going on, Hot Ones fans? This is Sean Evans. And if you've ever watched Hot Ones and wondered to yourself, how hot are those sauces really? I could get through that with no water or milk. Well, now is the time to put your money where your mouth is. The Hot Ones Season 21 lineup is now available in its entirety at heatness.com. Heatness.com. That's heatness.com to get your hands on the Season 21 Hot Ones hot sauce lineup. Milk not included. Be careful around the eyes.
Okay, I accidentally exposed BDO's biggest problem. Old Baldy.
It's time for me to get set up for therapy, and I use this room as my office. But the desk is over here, and so...
Asmongold exposed BDO's biggest problem. Here we go. Uh-oh.
Just kidding, Asmon.
Not good.
Asmon prefers to play games and learn it at his own pace by himself.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like that anyways, right? And there's nothing wrong with that.
One of the reasons for that is because I don't really have a frame of reference to judge whether somebody is giving me good advice or bad advice.
Well, good.
Somebody could just be telling me something just to, like, mess me up. And, like, that's happened before.
Many players fall into that same category. It's Black Desert Online's job, it's Pearl Abyss's job to create and design a game where it's not necessary for a brand new player that's clueless coming into the game to require a guide. You know what I mean? That is a deficiency with Pearl Abyss's game design. That's not Asmon's fault. That's not the player base's fault. That's not the player's fault. That's an issue with the game. Look, I love this game, man.
I don't think that I necessarily needed a guide. I just need to sit down and look at all the menus and look at everything in the game. I do, however, think that not showing numbers in the game makes it a lot harder for you to determine like what you're doing and like if you're doing the right thing or not. Like you know, for example, like PoE has like fucking all of these like weird like path of building and stuff like that to figure it out.
And I'm a big fan of BDO. This has always been my favorite MMO outside of vanilla Arcade. Okay, I love this game, and I know how easy it is once you understand the stuff, and I know how amazing of an experience it is if you do have someone to guide you. But the truth of the matter is that that's not going to be the case for a lot of brand new players and a lot of just for a lot of brand new players. And when you have an opportunity to bring in a lot of brand new players like you have right now, you know, it kind of sucks that the game is lacking in that department, because there's going to be a lot of players that are turned off by this initial experience because it's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming to play a new MMO in general, and I think especially to come into an existing MMO that's been around for a while, and you have like login rewards, you have like all these items you're getting, you have all these menus you have to go through, you have like all this stuff. Like, yes, it's extremely overwhelming. I think that's just the case with any game, really, but it's especially the case with like new MMOs that like just came out.
It's just,
or sorry, like new people coming into MMOs that have been out. Sorry.
You guys know what I mean. For those of you who play the game, you absolutely know when you watch Asmon or you watch some of these other players play for the first time, you 100% know that it's like you can see, okay, from their perspective, of course it's not going to be great, but that's not what it's really like if you kind of just know this, and this, right? Like, you know that. You feel that. You feel like, oh, you're like, I want to tell them. I want to help them. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people that don't have the luxury of having a guide or don't even want to have a guide.
Well, it's also like, I mean, as a streamer, like, this is my perspective, is that, like, I don't like having a bunch of people spamming me in caps lock to do their thing or to take their advice. I just feel like that type of gameplay and that type of environment in a stream creates, like, a very toxic and weird environment. Because people are constantly mad at you because they think that you're ignoring them because you're not taking their advice. And then so they spam it more, and then the streamer gets annoyed because they're spamming them. And then there are some people that are spamming the wrong advice. But, like, you don't know, like, obviously, whenever you're typing in chat, you know who you are. But whenever you're typing in chat, I might know who you are, and I might not know who you are in terms of, like, how many games you played. Like, do I know this is a person that's played BDO since 2018, or is this somebody who's never played BDO and just wants me to play Honkai Star Rail again? And then so they said, oh, go delete all your Blackstones. That's what you need to do, right? You don't need those anymore. So, like, that's also another issue. And then also, like, then there's the third option is, like, then they want, like, you, oh, go talk to my streamer,
my wife,
video streamer. And then it's like you have people trying to, like, try to interact with you as other streamers, and, like, I just, like, it's like you have all these people that are, like, trying to, like, get their hand in the cookie jar. They're all trying to, like, to get their 2 cents in there. Please, you know, let me get my 2 cents in here. Please, let me just listen to me. Just listen to me real quick. Just please listen to me. And it's like, that's just such an unpleasant environment to stream in. And so, like, and I want to let you guys know, like, the reason why I stopped playing BDO that day had nothing to do with chat. It was like 7 in the morning. I was tired. I needed to go to bed, right? Like, I finished the quest. I was like, fuck, okay, I had to go to bed. But people thought it was because of chat. It had nothing to do with chat. But yeah, it is annoying.
So, you know, Pearl Abyss just has to do a better job designing the game better for those types of players. If you see me play a video game for the first time as a brand new player that knows nothing about the game, I'm the type of person that wants to be as efficient as possible, right? Like, I'm the type of person that will prefer my chat to backseat, you know? Assuming that my chat actually knows.
I like being efficient too, but the problem with efficiency is that a lot of times efficiency comes at the expense of content. Like, I could probably be level 61 right now if I just let other people power level me, and then I just, like, read a guide on how to play my class. But I just didn't feel like that was as good a content. So, like, yeah, I could do that. It's the same as, like, Final Fantasy. I could have just bought a skip to Shadowbringers whenever I first started playing, and that'd be it. But, like, that just wouldn't have been a good experience.
They're talking about. That's me. I want to try and be efficient. I want to try and min-max things. I want to learn the min-max ways. I want to know the convenience route, you know? But not every player's like that. So my new player experience or returning player experience is going to be vastly different to someone like Asmon, who wants to take his time and enjoy the game and play at his own pace, and doesn't really like the back, or doesn't prefer to have the back seating. Select back seating. He is playing it to give it a fair review without guides, and I think that's great. I actually very much prefer him to play it the way he's playing it right now, so that he can give a true new player's experience.
To be fair, again, I'm not a new player. I played it in 2017 or 2016, something like that, whenever it first came out in the West. So, like, I do, and I played it a lot then. Like, I was, like, level 55 whenever, like, you stopped gaining experience quickly at level 50. So, like, I was really serious about the game. However, you know, like, that was a long time ago.
And review of the game. I think it's
55?
great.
Yeah, that was insane
I
back
to
then.
say good
I was
things
on like the
about
leaderboard
BDO,
for the
as
top
much as
level.
I want that for the game, he needs to be objective about it and also expose the game for its flaws. One of those flaws being the brand new player experience, where it's just overwhelming. There's stupid, pointless quests showing up. There's no reason why Asmon should have gotten a Kill 85 Alter Imp quest, a repeatable Kill 85 Alter Imp quest at level 20 fucking 1.
See, I actually didn't mind that at all. I'm gonna be totally honest. Like, that wasn't even an issue to me, because that was like, okay, well, I mean, like, the thing to me is like, if I don't like killing 85 mobs, I should just quit the game right now. I've seen how Black Desert plays at max level. That's it.
In Heidel. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to have that quest even available. I don't know how he accepted it. I'm assuming he just spammed R, you know, which is what 90% of the players are going to do. And he automatically just picked up the next quest in line, because the way it works is you talk to an NPC that is the objective of your main quest,
until it goes away.
of your main campaign, and you just spam R, and you don't realize that you're actually accepting a side quest that NPC also has. So then the quest line sometimes redirects you to the side quest that you picked up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened with Asmon's. I have no idea. I'm assuming that that's what happened. I could be completely wrong about that, but that's exactly what I mean. That's a perfect example of, in my opinion, not great game design. And you could sit there and be like, oh, just look at the UI, just read what you're accepting. You can say that all you want. But the fact of the matter is that 90% of the players are not going to do that. I mean, no matter how right you are,
nobody wants to sit there and read a bunch of fucking menus. Like, people are not going to process, like, there's like 50 things on the screen that you need to know about. Of course, people aren't going to be able to figure this shit out.
It's bad I was rooting for him.
And also, like, the leveling tree for like leveling your skills is kind of hard to understand. Like, it's not intuitive in the same way that, like, the Warcraft talent tree is intuitive.
How right you are in that regard, 90% of the players are just not going to do that. That's, you know what I mean? You're not going to change that fact. So if that's the case, you need to design it better. I mean, I wish I could. There's really nothing more I can elaborate on. The only thing I found really annoying as a completely new player and actually stopped playing after 3 to 4 hours is the item bloat, the inventory. That's another thing. That's another big one. At Assetos, that's another really big one. They need to
I had like my inventory full of a bunch of stuff. I had no idea what it was. It was just like I said, I had full inventory and I didn't know what to do with the stuff. Yeah, it was a lot.
Get rid of worthless items, especially on the season. I really think that, because like some of the items you just can't get rid of. There's a lot of items, a lot of systems in the game, right? A lot of items do serve a purpose. There are a lot of stupid items that you can get rid of, but a lot of items do serve a purpose. For a seasoned character, for a seasonal experience, I think they could easily get rid of all that bloat. All of that bloat, man. Just get rid of everything. Catfish scales, get rid of that shit. That's not like, who gives a fuck, you know, in all servers. But then some of the other items that may serve a purpose, just remove it from the season servers. One of the amazing things about BDO is that there are a lot of systems in place which allows this game to have depth. It has layers, and it gives you a better end game experience because of that, right? But like I said, it's a double-edged sword. Because of that very fact, there's a lot of bloat as well. I feel like this item is a great example, right? It's like, what the fuck is this? To be perfect.
Well, it's like you read this, like, bro, like, if I get this, I don't want to read this. I don't want to read this. Like, what the fuck is this? It's so annoying.
To be honest, I never used this before. This
no
is a
one
new
does.
item
Yeah,
for
nobody
me too,
wants to
as
see
a returning
this.
player. But if you look at it, crafting materials, drought, and magical elixir. I understand the value of this item and why it's in the game.
Right.
What is it for? It's to create elixirs. What are elixirs? Elixirs are buffs. They're just like 15-minute buffs, 15, 20-minute buffs that I can apply on my character. So if you think about it in that regard, oh, this game allows you to gain buffs that will allow you to grind or kill things faster.
Somebody says, yet I'll look at all the loot through Diablo 4. Let me explain why. How many of y'all scroll through Twitter pretty regularly? Like, you scroll through Twitter, you're reading tweets, you know, etc. Yeah. How many of you, whenever you see a twit longer and you open it up, and it's longer than the size of, like, all of the text on your screen, you're like... and you just ignore it? Yeah. That's why. That is exactly why. People only want to look at a few things at a time. They don't want to see a bunch of bullshit. Making things concise and understandable is harder than making them complex, in my opinion. Making something that is like, you know, doing this is a lot harder than being able to communicate this inside of this little square.
15 to 20-minute intervals that reset when you die. Not bad. Okay, well, how do I make it? Well, here you go. Here's an elixir that you can use to craft it, right?
They over-explain the item descriptions? Yeah.
Magical elixir that makes sure... Okay, so it extends it. Excuse me, whatever. Same thing. It's applied to elixirs, right? It has a purpose. But a brand new player that's looking at this...
Yeah.
First of all, they're going to be like, well, what the fuck are elixirs? So, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not like the game is going to teach you what the elixirs are, and if it does, it's in text. They probably skipped it anyway. And the other thing is, when I look at this actual menu, this is a bit overwhelming. Okay, let's read this. A magical elixir with special powers that amplifies the effects of alchemy. Okay, crafting method, processing L.
Like a magical elixir with special powers, just cut that out. Remove that.
Alchemy. Usage
There's
1.
no reason for that to be there.
Magical Verter Drought. Crafting materials.
Why?
I need 2 Verter Droughts and 1 magical elixir. As a brand new player, I'm going to have no idea how I get these items. For me, and the game doesn't tell you, yeah, so for me, it's like I understand from the perspective of a seasoned player that looks at this and it's like, bro, it's actually simple. Look, it shows the crafting materials, and you get this item, materials, you get this item, materials, you get this. But that's also because we know what a beast drought is. You know what I mean?
Nope.
We know what a magical elixir does. But a brand new player is not going to know what this is. They're not going to know what a drought is. They're not going to know how to get a drought. And they're not going to even know what this item gives them. Okay, if that's the case for a couple items, it's fine. One of the issues is that there are a lot of these types of items. There are a lot of these types of items. WoW doesn't teach you. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, what I'm saying is, like, it's difficult because if the more you learn about the game, the more you realize a lot of these quote-unquote bloat items are actually important. They have a purpose to the game, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But,
of course.
then you use Google. Everything you guys are saying.
The moment that you ask somebody to look outside of the game in order to understand the game, you lose a massive amount of people in translation. Like, the moment that you say, okay, no, it's not enough for you to just play the game. No, you have to look it up ahead of time and figure this out on Google. Yeah, that is horrible.
you're not wrong. It doesn't change the fact
Come here.
that when there are a lot of these types of items in the game and they're given to you early, it's overwhelming. You can call them lazy, you can say Google it, you can say whatever, right? But as a new player,
well, like you think about it, right? You've now received 35 different items within playing the game for probably less than 5 hours, and each of those 35 different items has like 7 other types of like pretext and information behind it. It's massive.
You're bombarded with a lot of these types of items, it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is maybe for the seasons, you dumb it down and remove a lot of these items. Maybe just introduce a couple of them. You know what I'm saying? And then when you get to the regular season, fuck it, bombard them there. Because if you're, well, maybe make it gradual, but ideally, but even if you can, it's important not to overwhelm.
You just left, dog.
The initial experience is what I'm saying. You know, because if you get, because BDO's a great game. If you get them hooked and you don't let them get overwhelmed, you get them hooked in the beginning, because they're busy enough trying to figure out just how Tuvala gear works, right?
Yeah.
Get them hooked, and then you overload them with systems at the end game. I think that's a very different experience compared to just out the middle, out the gate, you're getting fucking magical.
I think that there's a lot of games that are complicated for the sake of being complicated, and the complication doesn't really add a lot of value to the game. And I think a good example of this being done properly without a lot of that is like Classic WoW. Classic WoW is actually a very, very simple game, and I think because of that, a lot of people can easily understand it and can appreciate the stats and the way that the game is designed. But the problem is that with other games like Retail WoW, like PoE has this problem, Diablo 4 has this problem, Black Desert seems to kind of have this problem, I don't really know yet, is that there is a lot of complication in the game that is really, it doesn't need to be there. Like if you took this out of the game or like combined it with something else, things would just be a lot more streamlined and better. And I think the problem is that like a lot of the existing players for games like this have like part of their, like they believe part of the mastery of the game is understanding those hard to understand systems. But what I think they might not realize is that by making that a gatekeeper, well, they gatekeep people out. And it's like, why would you want to gatekeep people because they don't want to learn 500 different terms for a new video game? Like, is this really doing the game any favors?
You're getting sharps, you're getting processing shit, you're getting this, that, and it's not just for gear. It's also for life skill. You got life skilling items, you got gear upgrade items, you got Black Spirit items, you got rifts, and you got this and that. It's so much, you know what I'm saying? But you get what I'm saying, right? I can't, as someone that knows and understands this game, I cannot say remove everything. That would be terrible for this game, right? Like everything has a purpose, and it is pretty simple. But for a new player, you gotta make it less overwhelming, is what I'm saying. That's where I'm coming from, boys.
Yeah, you can't take that away. Otherwise, they'll just be losers. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people that have their ego built up in overcoming and understanding complicated games, and so they don't want to see the game not be complicated. It's pretty annoying, but there it is. There's the video right there. I definitely appreciate that. It's to distinguish your play skill. Well, like, I don't want my play skill to be distinguished by how many stats I understand in the game. That seems kind of silly. So, yeah, I also want to say that I did not stop playing BDO because of the chat or anything that had to do with the chat. I had no problem with the chat. It was annoying, but I don't have a problem with that because if people do things that are annoying me, I just simply ban them. They get banned, and then that's it. So, yeah, who gives a fuck?
Episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and today we're talking about Remnant 2. This is the follow-up to Remnant from the Ashes that released in 2019. It was a game where we'll admit we didn't get to spend enough time with, but the PC crowd really seemed to love it. So now with the sequel, the formula continues, although this time everything is bigger and badder. Now, for the uninitiated, just know that Remnant is a kind of loot dungeon co-op third-person shooter. You hop into worlds from a hub and journey around, discovering chests, fighting enemies, doing sub-objectives, earning stuff, fighting sub-bosses, main bosses, and while there is a story progression and character progression, there's a feeling that you can kind of play it endlessly because scenarios and encounters and areas are often randomized or remixed to shake things up a bit, so you're always on your toes. And if you're playing with friends, it just kind of begs you to hop in and start blasting for a night, you know? And now in Remnant 2, you create a character in the beginning through this limited character creator and you hop in. The character creator is pretty limited and you look really generic, but it's fine because 20 minutes in, you're covered up in armor, so it doesn't really matter. Just choose your voice carefully, my only tip, because you're gonna hear your character whining in battle a lot. Now, after this, you jump into a post-apocalyptic world. Do you need to have played the first game? No, not really. This is like a new adventure, but it helps because there are callbacks and characters and things, but it's your own character going through and eventually getting caught up with a group of survivors, and it feels like typical post-apocalyptic video game fare until you get thrust into an interdimensional crystal, and from there, you're free to party up and hop between worlds and loot and shoot and level up. Occasionally, hopping back into hub worlds to craft new weapons and upgrades and spend your earned currency on other upgrades. Now, the story here didn't really do it for us. Feels a little bit generic at times, but it's serviceable and has little moments here and there. This game is all about the gameplay, you know, that's the meat. The moment-to-moment shooting and the character progression, which has been significantly overhauled and is very compelling. So let's start off with the combat. It's the main thing. You're running and gunning and dodging and casting abilities. Enemies are shooting you with projectiles from afar, other enemies are closing in and getting nasty, and it's often just constant chaos. Shooting feels great and really responsive with punchy shotguns and bolt-action rifles and repeaters that just have a satisfying blast to them. I point this out because you're endlessly shooting in this game, so it has to feel at least decent in the feedback department, and thankfully, it really does. Using special skills often creates a lot of on-screen effects, and melee attacks are extremely necessary, but attacking is still pretty simple here. The different weapon types show off some pretty good-looking animations, though, and that translates over to the enemies as well. They're satisfying to shoot as you see them stagger and, you know, you find their weak spots for more damage and sometimes they pop. Many of them have their own really cool attack animations as well. My biggest issue is that it's really easy to get attacked from behind and there's not a good sound cue or much indication that it's going to happen. You just need to be on a swivel at all times. Because with your health being limited, getting attacked from behind constantly can be a little annoying. That, and there are a few bosses here and there that feel a bit BS, you know, like they might frustrate you, but otherwise, I found the difficulty to be solid. There are a few difficulty levels, and even the standard ones are pretty challenging right out of the gate. As you're getting your feet wet, that challenge might not feel as rewarding until the game really ramps up and makes you feel like a badass. I found the early hours, like the first few hours, a little grating, you know? There were a couple of sections that I died at, and when I was spit way back out at the last safe zone, I felt to myself kind of like, wow, I really don't want to do that again. And that's a feeling that I shouldn't have in this type of game. It did go away over time. I'm just giving you like my own personal preference, my own vibes towards it. I think that aspect is definitely helped by playing with friends in co-op with up to 2 additional people in your group. I wasn't able to experience as much of this as I wanted to, but I can already tell this game is way more fun when you're not running solo. You can do it solo for sure. I certainly mostly did, but the strengths lie in character building and multiple characters doing crazy stuff together, all gunning at a boss, you know, creating your own adventures because the stuff in the game is only so interesting. Now, you're teleporting to different worlds, so there is a good amount of variety, you know, post-apocalyptic abandoned places, lush, mysterious fantasy forests, sci-fi worlds, tech stuff, more stuff I won't spoil. The variety goes a long way, and all of these areas have their own unique little sub-stories going on, and their own little cultures and lore, and when you encounter this stuff, it may be different compared to someone else playing the game thanks to the random elements. And this game, like the first, is just meant to be played. Multiple revisits to different worlds, rolling new characters. You're not done when you beat the story. You're gonna play through it again due to this game's whole nature. And I know I said some enemies and bosses are BS, but on the flip side, some of them are downright awesome. There's some really good boss battles here that I really liked. I just had a good time fighting. They felt like regular, straight up, good old-fashioned boss battles with a couple of phases, and that's it, you know? And I actually found myself getting excited to stumble upon them again somewhere while rolling a new character later on, knowing all the tricks. But with the RPG stuff, they really doubled down on it all, and it does make it seem worth it here. So the new name of the game here really is the overhauled archetype. So you pick one, like say the Challenger, the Heavy Base, the Medic, you know, stuff like that. And then that character will have a bunch of fun sub-perks that are tied to relics, team stuff, or just general perks, and then special skills, like, say, a Heavy Stomp for the Challenger, targeting bonuses for the Hunter, special healing launchers for the Medic, but they seem to get more interesting as you go. You level up these specific archetypes with their own progression, and you earn new perks, and eventually can take advantage of almost like 2 archetypes at once, creating a type of hybrid playstyle character that you want. Now, armor is simplified now, so love it or hate it, you're not so locked down to it at least. Everything has modifiers and mutations allowing you to focus on special perks and abilities for weapons and items more than just simple power levels. I mean, you still have a power level and it's going to matter, but you're focusing on individual stuff more and just getting creative. And it's nice. You're getting different dragon hearts and then adding different relics onto them, which gives you added perks like healing rates, firing rates, etc. Then you have an amulet for what is usually a pretty damn good active perk, and then a whopping 4 ring slots for even more stuff. So between that and the archetype perks and everything else I just mentioned, you're just like this perk stacked monster. And it's really fun to micromanage them because a lot of them actually seem meaningful. Not just some hamster wheel throwaway RPG numbers going up by 1. Like, I can't emphasize this enough, like, you can become a really crazy powerhouse. We're showing early gameplay footage here, so you can't really get too good of a sense of it, but like, you can have some pretty wild characters with just a lot of stuff going on at once the more hours you put into it. And then, of course, like, as you level up, you also unlock trait points that you can dump into stuff like health, endurance, cooldowns, and progressively more things as you progress your archetypes. You can also respec these points if you want, adding a pretty good level of experimentation to it all. That's good that there's some freedom there, because in the early hours, trying stuff like different weapons isn't as easy as it could be because it's expensive from vendors. So there's a lot. And I feel like we've only just scratched the surface with this game. Like, with expanded, combinable, build-upable archetypes and the game's random nature, and presumably updates and more contents to come, if we can assume it's like the first game, this game could become something completely different a year from now. But the base here is good. I'm curious to see what like the hardcore Remnant fans think. Like, there are people who played that first one for hundreds of hours, so some of them might have different insight than me, but like I said, the base game seems good. Like, it's not unfinished or selling you half a game or anything like that. It's solid. This feels like a true Remnant sequel that I think fans may take some issues with here and there, but ultimately really enjoy. I can't wait to see where it goes. Again, as kind of like a solo lone wolf player playing before release, I am curious to see how the community takes to it, what they think of it. I could be off, but in our experience with it, with us running through it on 2 PCs, we haven't seen any red flags or anything like that. But hey, that's a before you buy. You probably know how this works by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I want to hear yours down in the comments. What do you think about the first Remnant, From the Ashes? Did you play it? What do you think about the sequel? Are you going to play it on PC or console? Let's talk about any of this stuff down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys, but if this video helped you at all, maybe just showed you some gameplay or informed your purchasing decision, clicking the like button's all you gotta do. It legitimately helps us, so thank you. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Out to me and asked, when am I doing a comedy special? Well, guess what? It's happening. That's right. This fall, I'm taping my first science comedy special here in Manhattan. So if you're going to be in the area, I want you to be there because I need the most science literate audience that I can have, and that means you. So go to chucknicecomic.com and use code StarTalk for your exclusive chance to make a pre-sale purchase for the tickets. It's a very limited supply of tickets, so you want to do it as early as possible, and that means now. chucknicecomic.com, use code StarTalk, and we'll see you this fall with the rest of the StarTalk gang.
This is StarTalk. Neil deGrasse Tyson here, your personal astrophysicist. Got with me Chuck Nice. Chuck, how you doing, man?
Oh, great, man. How's it going?
All right. You're my co-host extraordinaire.
Oh, fantastic.
I don't tell you that as often as I want to.
I'll take it anytime I can get it.
We've got a special guest today.
Yeah.
A longtime friend and colleague, Madam Saturn.
Yes.
Does she have a name beyond that? I don't know, and I don't think so. But until we verify it, let's call her Carolyn Porco. Carolyn, welcome back to StarTalk.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And hello to both of you. You both look great. It's good to see you.
Excellent. Excellent. We got you on because we're going to talk about world-changing, civilization-moving space images.
Yes.
And you've been a part of this parade of cosmic perspectives that have come to us from photography in space. And I'm delighted to sort of get your take on this and what roles you played in the past, present, and maybe even the future. So, Carolyn, I've got a 3-line bio for you. This is, I think, encapsulates why we've got you on the show today. You were a member of the Voyager imaging team. Voyager was launched back in 1977, so you've been at this for a while. You're also a leader and head of the imaging team of Cassini. That was NASA's mission to Saturn. And currently you're a visiting scholar at UC Berkeley. And my favorite planet after Earth is Saturn. And so every day I was looking at my inbox to see if a new beautiful image was coming from your Saturn portfolio. So, Carolyn, welcome back to StarTalk.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And let me add to that 3-line resume, Carolyn, that on July 19th, 2013, you oversaw an image taken by the Cassini spacecraft while it orbited Saturn called The Day the Earth Smiled.
Yes.
And many have called that the greatest selfie ever taken. So, Carolyn, as I've come to understand, the early planetary probes, as conceived by NASA, did not contain cameras. They contained all manner of sophisticated scientific equipment to measure like magnetic fields and plasma densities and all this, but not photos. And so, what do you know about the history of this resistance?
Yeah, it has a very interesting history, and not surprising. Carl Sagan is involved in this because he was one of the original planetary scientists. In fact, the Voyager imaging team leader, Brad Smith, referred to Carl as the first planetary scientist. But anyway, it was the first Mariner mission to Venus. This was going to be the first mission to a planet because we'd been with, Ranger, Surveyor, so on to the moon. It was the first mission to Venus, and
Venus is, of course, the closest planet to Earth. So why wouldn't it be Venus? You go to the closest place.
Yeah, good idea. So anyway, the scientists involved in that mission did not want to carry a camera. And they said, and this was told to me by Carl, they said that they thought essentially that cameras were for kids. There was no really, important science that could be done with a camera. And it was Carl tried to convince them that that wouldn't be a sensible thing to leave off the camera. And they didn't believe him, and he lost the battle, but he won the war because all future missions thankfully carry cameras. And it just shows you how silly people can be, because what is an imaging device, especially a space imaging device that takes just have a scene and turns it into an array of numbers which get relayed back to Mother Earth. what is that except a bunch of detectors? In fact, in the case of Cassini, 1,000,000, 1,000 on the side, 1,000,000 individual detectors arrayed in 2 dimensions. They're okay. The scientists were okay with carrying one detector that could just look in one spot and take whatever information it needed. For some reason, they did not like the idea of a 2-dimensional array of 1,000,000 of these things. But anyway, it's true. There was really strong pushback against carrying a camera, and we know.
But isn't it? It's not. Well, it's not because they were just ignorant. It's that if you're going to carry a camera, that means you can't carry something else, right? Every ounce matters. On these space missions.
Okay, but what they couldn't see was the utility in imaging data. That's really what it came down to. But with cameras, they didn't do this on the early missions, but with cameras, of course, you can take movies, you could see phenomena as they're developing, and you could put filters in front of cameras, and you can, you make spectral measurements and so on. But anyway, just as an interesting footnote to the history of planetary exploration, it was actually pushed back against cameras when cameras, just look at the annals of the discoveries that have been made in the planetary program and how much of it is there because of imaging devices.
So you're saying these original planetary scientists were boneheaded? That's what you're saying?
No, you said it. You said it.
I said it. I'll say it.
Okay.
I'll say it.
Okay, but you know what? We still have boneheaded scientists. I'm just not going to mention any names.
So tell me about the Pale Blue Dot and Voyager.
Okay, so I love talking
because we're speaking. You lived it. So this is oral history as well as scientific history.
Yes.
Right
so
here
I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell it to you from my point of view. I was made an imaging team member officially after I graduated Caltech in May, and then I finally moved to Arizona to be a postdoc under Brad Smith, the Voyager imaging team leader, and that's when I became an official member of the Voyager imaging team. And soon after that, I began hawking around this idea to take a picture of the Earth from the outer solar system, and I had in mind, the perspective that it would give us of our place. I also had in mind that it would show what aliens coming to the Earth would see. It was to take a picture of the Earth and all the other planets. And so...
Right, aliens coming to the solar system would then see Earth in the distance. Right.
Yes, that's right. So I just thought this would be a cool thing to do. And I began hawking it around. I spoke to Brad Smith about this. I even ended up speaking to Ed Stone about this. And I was told basically by Ed Stone...
Was Ed Stone the head of the Jet Propulsion Labs back then?
Sorry, I should be careful about this. I spoke to Ed Stone about this, who was the project scientist for Voyager.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And would he later become head of the Jet Propulsion Labs?
Yes, he did for a time. He was the head of, after Voyager. But anyway, so I was told by Ed Stone, no, we're not going to take an image like this unless you can find some science to it. Ed was a professor at Caltech and a gem of a guy. And he was trying to encourage me. He said, go find some science you can do with this, and maybe we'll do it. And I couldn't think of any, and I ended up going off and doing something else. But meanwhile, a few years go by, and it's 1988, and I find out that Carl Sagan had proposed the same thing. He had done it a year or two before I did, but he was also having trouble getting anyone to want to get interested in this. Certainly not the project leadership, not Ed Stone, but the managers at JPL, because they would have been a dangerous thing to do in those days. Take a picture like that, because the high gain antenna on Voyager was always 100% of the time pointed towards the Earth, and they feared if you had to take the high gain antenna off the Earth in order to move the camera into place to take a picture, we might lose the spacecraft. So it turned out not until 1989 was it clear that we were going to be able to do this. Oh, and I should say that I told Carl after I found out that he was trying to do it, I met him at a DPS meeting, Division of Planetary Sciences meeting, and said, I was trying to do this too, and I didn't get anywhere. He said, why don't you join me and help us? So I was tasked with computing the exposure times for the pictures we were going to take. We ended up taking six of the 8 planets, and the picture finally happened, and it really happened. This is why Carl really gets the credit here. He had to go to NASA headquarters, speak to NASA headquarters people to get permission and get the funding to take this picture. And I think the funding amounted to, in present day dollars, would have amounted to something like asking for $4 million. It was asking a lot, I guess, to do this. So anyway, it finally got done, and lots of people poo-pooed this idea, and people thought, it's only going to be less than a pixel. How could this possibly be an interesting picture? But as we all know, it's what Carl had to say about it. And the way he romanced it, and he turned it into an allegory on the human condition that has turned the picture and the phrase pale blue dot, into a meme, if you will. It really, well, like I said, it's an allegory of where we stand. So that established almost a protocol in planetary exploration, because it seems like every mission since then has taken a picture of the Earth. So there's pictures of the Earth taken from the surface of Mars, pictures of the Earth from the Galileo spacecraft on its way to Jupiter, and so on. And of course...
So, Carolyn, I'm stuck on something. Why would pointing a camera cost $4 million?
Because you had...
It was a Kodak. It was a Kodak.
What's the film made of? Like gold? I mean, what? Is it the procedures? It was just the effort, the overhead?
It was keeping the marching army that at JPL that managed and ran the whole project and took care of the spacecraft, keeping them all on board for some extra time. That was basically part of it, or most of it.
Okay, so it's during the time you are taking that picture, they're not doing anything else that they should have been doing. And so then you can cost that up and you get to $4 million. That's what you're saying there.
Nah, we didn't do that picture until the mission, the Voyager planetary portion of the mission was over. So no.
So you have to keep it. You have to keep the marching army marching. That's what it is. Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
It was basically overtime. Is that it? It's like, we can't do this. We have to pay overtime.
Everybody gets time and a half.
Well,
we can't.
You're laughing, but it really was sort of like that.
I have to quick interlude. I have an excerpt here from Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot, the book,
Go ahead.
which is probably among the most quoted sentences of the entire book, if you allow me.
I will allow you.
Okay, thank you. By the way, you're supposed to be listening to this while you're looking at this pale blue dot. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. And it goes on and on and on, but that's just representatively beautiful of a very long passage, and it's a take on that pale blue dot. So, Carolyn, you wanted to reprise this. So what happened there?
Well, I was chosen to be the imaging team leader on Cassini actually just months later.
Actually, let me prep you here, just briefly. Not many people know who have seen these beautiful passages from Carl about the pale blue dot, that a big part of this recitation is Carl explaining what a pixel is. This was early before that became common knowledge, right? What a pixel, how to think about it, how much resolution is there. So he goes through a whole disclaimer or a primer on how to look at a digital image and what a pixel is, and that Earth barely fills a pixel. But one thing that he did not make clear is that Earth barely fills a pixel because of the resolution of the camera. A higher resolution camera would have had many more pixels to represent Earth. But he never really went there. And you're left thinking, oh my gosh, from space, Earth is only 1 pixel. So we now fast forward, how many years? We go to the, Carolyn is ready to just knock one out of the park. So Carolyn, pick us up at Saturn.
Now we're up to 2 pixels.
Well, okay, but let me just say I have to be. I'm gonna nerd out on you. Is that okay?
Go for it.
I'm just gonna say that it's not only the size of the pixel; it is the diffraction limit of the camera that counts too. So there are, you could have a CCD with a billion pixels on the side at the focal plane of your telescope. But if your telescope has a certain diffraction limit, you can't see anything better than that. So it's a little bit more tricky. But anyway, fast forward where I get to be the imaging team leader on Cassini less than a year from the time the Voyager Pale Blue Dot was taken, and I had at the top of my bucket list certain items that I wanted to do. One was I was going to make sure that we did what the Voyager people really never got a good chance to do, and that was, as much as we could, put out true color images, because I wanted people to see what the solar system with Saturn and everything in it really looked like. And then another was where we could use the cameras as movie cameras and just take repeated imagery so that we could see phenomena as they were happening, and we did that in spades. And then finally it was to redo the Pale Blue Dot. And it didn't really happen. I didn't have the time, we didn't have the things just weren't, all set up the way they should.
Wait, just again, to put this in time context, the Voyager was launched in 1977. It was passing Neptune in 1980. So it's done with the planets.
No,
now
1980. No, 1989. 89.
No, sorry. Okay. No, but the Pale Blue Dot was 1990, correct?
Valentine's Day, 1990.
Gotcha. So it took 13 years to get far enough out beyond the orbit of Neptune for everyone to say, we're done with the Voyager's scientific mission. Now let's do this frivolous stuff, like take a picture of Earth. And so with the $4 million, the craft stays online, takes the picture, so now that's 1990.
Yes, Pale Blue Dot happened Valentine's Day, 1990. November 13th, 1990, I get a phone call from NASA headquarters telling me I'm the imaging team leader.
I'm sure those people who didn't want to pay overtime were like, damn.
Well, anyway, so, and my first team meeting was, I think, early December of 1990, and that's what I told my, I didn't tell them we're going to do the Pale Blue Dot, but that's where I set my goals for the team. But anyway, so, fast forward a number of years again to I don't know what it was, 2010, 11, and I'm starting to think, where can I find the time, or in the plans for all the imagery we were going to do, where can I slot in another Pale Blue Dot? And in doing that, trying to think of where we were going to put it, it occurred to me how great it would be if we just do the Pale Blue Dot with a twist. And that twist was going to be that I thought we'll invite people the world over to participate in this. We'll tell them ahead of time, not after the image is taken, like everybody else had done up until that point. We'll tell them ahead of time, at this certain time and date, we're going to take a picture of you here on the Earth. That the picture-taking window lasts 15 minutes. We want you all to go out, straighten up, comb your hair, go out, and look up, at the sky, even if you're on the other side of the earth, look
Wait,
up.
I saw Chuck in that photo. He had spinach in his teeth.
And clearly I was not wearing pants. So.
All right.
Anyway, it wasn't so clear, Chuck. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so I remember Carolyn, because there were news articles about this to get everybody to participate. So, do you know at the end of the day how many people looked up and smiled?
I don't really know. I think we estimated tens of thousands, and to be honest with you, I had plans to make it a big event. I even had applied to the TED people, the TED conference.
Right.
They give out $1 million prize for a big project, and I thought this is just going to be up their alley, and I applied to them, and they didn't choose it. But the idea was to just, make it a big event, a teaching moment all around the globe. And that never happened. But anyway, people did participate, and we said, just go out, look up at the sky, think of all of us here on this planet, all of Earth's creatures on one planet. Think of our isolation and the blackness of space, and think of how precious life is and our own lives are on this planet, and just smile at being alive on a pale blue dot. And that was kind of the directive. And we set up a website, and people wrote in, and it was really moving for a lot of people. So I was and the picture, of course, turned out it's a killer picture.
Stunning, in the shadow of Saturn. It's one of the more brilliant photos I think ever taken in space.
I know.
Of anything.
And it was the first time we ever had seen the Earth and Saturn and the whole thing together just like that. So, and I've been told, Neil, literally people I know who are in your audiences, this has been happening for years. They write me an email, they say, do you know Neil deGrasse Tyson is showing your image right now, and he's saying great things about you. So anyway, thank you for that. Thank you.
I call you out every time. I say Carolyn Porco, and I also let people know that you're active on social media so they can find you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
So Carolyn, when I look at these Cassini images, I'm often struck by the colors. And so what makes the different colors?
The different colors basically come down to two different phenomena. One is just basically different materials, different compositions, okay? Different in the atmosphere of Saturn, different compounds, organic materials or of one kind or another. They have different colors, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what you're seeing in the atmosphere of Saturn. The same thing in the rings. There are impurities in the rings, and they give the rings, even though they're mostly water, largely water, they're impurities, and they can, from afar, they can look like color to your eye. Okay.
Of course, it's frozen water, just to be clear. Yeah.
It's ice. Yes.
It's not a bathtub. Right.
Not a bathtub. But there are times when you are seeing a phenomenon known as refraction or diffraction to different phenomena that actually they work. If you're looking at different angles, the object at different angles, you'll see different colors. So it's just light, electromagnetic radiation interacting with atoms of different types of atoms that can produce different colors. Okay, and as far as true color goes, it's a very hard thing to do to get true color. What you would see, first of all, if you were hanging out, floating above Saturn, first you have to appreciate what you would see would be 100 times fainter than what you would see here, because Saturn is 10 times farther away from the sun.
Oh.
So automatically, when we take a picture and we expose the picture, we leave the shutter open
right.
for longer.
Long exposure.
For longer than your eye's residence time on your retina, we're already cheating.
Right.
So it's always going to look somewhat different than it would to you if you were there. But
it wouldn't be cheating, Chuck, if you had huge eyeballs.
I was going to say, if my eyes had CCD chips in them, collecting all those photons, I'd be.
If you had Elsa-sized eyeballs from Frozen.
Why don't we do that topic another time? Let's do true color another time.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Of course.
Cool.
Of
yeah.
Course. All right. So Carolyn, so when I think of the inventory of profound photos, of course, Earthrise from Apollo 8 comes to mind. Can you reflect on that?
Well, that was the first time the globe of people first saw the Earth from afar. And there had been pictures like it taken, but didn't become as popular as the Apollo 8 moon, Earthrise. And it had to, in some sense, it can be, you can attribute the environmental movement to that picture, because it was the first time we see ourselves as a globe. It's an uncorrupted, unpoliticized view of our planet, and we know, of course, that we all live on it, and it's just people have such a powerful, as you must know, when you show that picture the day the Earth smiled, and I've been going around doing the same thing, showing it. People have a very strong response to recognizing where and what we are.
Yeah.
And just knowing what the Earth would look like in the skies of another world.
It's the "you are here" on the wall.
That's right. Exactly.
It's not only you are here, but you are here on this just insanely small and fragile-looking thing with nothing around it. I mean, just complete blackness all around.
Bare-assed in the universe. That's a title of a book.
Is that your next book?
No, I don't know. So, Carolyn, can you foresee a photo yet to be taken that might be as impactful as those that have come before? That sounds like a no.
I'd have to think about it.
Okay, while you're thinking, let's go to questions. Chuck, you got some questions from our Patreon members?
Yes, we do.
All right. Line them up. What do you have?
Let's start off with Casey here. And actually...
and each of these members have been told that we would be speaking to you today, Carolyn. So these are tuned. Yes. These are bespoke for your presence on this program.
Okay.
Absolutely. So Casey says, Dr. Tyson, Lord Nice, Dr. Porco. Casey here from Florida with a question for Carolyn. What was the most interesting thing you learned from the Cassini mission, and what upcoming mission has you most excited?
I like that. All right.
Oh, gee. I mean, what we learned so many things, so many...
Okay, pick your favorite child then.
Okay, I'm going to give two. Can I give two?
All right, two. Okay, two.
One, it's what everybody expects me to say, because really is the thing that has grabbed me ever since we found it, and that was learning what exists on Enceladus. It's the ocean that has got just complex organic compounds on it, has hints of hydrothermal activity that presumably is taking place on the seafloor of Enceladus. As an ocean underneath it. That's what I'm trying to say. Right. And it's expressing itself into space in the form of geysers and a plume that we can fly through. Cassini flew through it to sample it, and we know a lot about it now. And it really is, despite what anybody else tells you, it is the low-hanging fruit in our solar system to go search for life. And to be at the forefront of that, I mean, we took the pictures. We were the ones who found the 100 geysers, lofting into space. And there's good reason to believe that, very good reason to believe that ocean, the geysers are coming out of 4 fractions of the South Polar terrain. And there's good reason to believe that the liquid water from which those geysers are created comes all the way up to the surface. Literally, it could be like Old Faithful, except not with an intermittent kind of character, but water that comes all the way up to the surface. And I mean, it just doesn't get any more exciting than that.
Well, if there's fish down there, then some of that fish might have come up in the geyser. You could have freeze-dried fish on the surface of Enceladus.
No. Because
why not? No, not my story. That's a good story, Carolyn. Let's keep my story.
Bad. It's bad. It's bad because it's not likely there's complex life down there. You need more energy than is available there. But microbes are cool. Don't disrespect microbes.
Okay, so microbes float up in there on the surface.
I've always said it could be snowing microbes in those geysers.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
All right.
You like my
Okay.
fish? All right, I'll give you the microbes. Okay.
Give me a microbe. I'll take a microbe
Okay.
any day.
I still like fish, but all right, go on.
That's all right.
And what upcoming space mission, planetary mission, do you most look forward to?
Well, okay, so I won't be around for it, but when we go back to Enceladus, land on the surface, and we can do the whole kit and caboodle. We can measure the geophysical activity underneath the surface seismically. We can stand there and just have the stuff fall on us. We could collect to our heart's content, and we could really do a bang-up job searching for life in that Enceladus ocean.
And apparently you expect to be dead. You expect to be dead by then.
Well, it's going to take so long before that happens.
Okay.
How do we make sure before we go back that when we land, we don't contaminate, if there are microbes there?
Good question. Good question. Good question. And this brings another topic. I don't know if we want to do it this time or another time. NASA treats this as, for all the criticisms people have about NASA, they treat planetary protection very seriously. So we would have to go back with an absolutely pristine, clean spacecraft contaminated with no microbes from Earth, or else we could be measuring our own
viruses.
scum.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that. So, but this puts before us the specter of having the people from the commercial space side of things now just crazily flying into space with what will be hundreds of thousands of satellites in low Earth orbit. They're talking about missions to go to Enceladus. I've heard plans to go land on Enceladus or fly through its plume. I doubt any commercial enterprise will ever would want to spend the money, to actually fork over the bucks to ensure the cleanliness of a spacecraft.
Yeah.
So it's got to be NASA to lead this. Otherwise, we worry about forward contamination of what it is we're trying to observe.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
No,
all right.
yeah, that makes sense. NASA cares, and
NASA cares.
Everybody else just wants the money. So.
And Carolyn,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Carolyn, is one of the plumes from Enceladus make one of the rings of Saturn? Isn't there some ring made by a plume?
It's not just. Well, hold it. There's geysers. There's 100 that we counted. My research group, actually, this is my own research. We counted about 100 individual geysers, but if you had higher resolution, there's probably more. All those geysers make a plume, so don't get confused. There's hundreds of geysers. They all make a plume. We showed that those geysers, the biggest among them, the most, pronounced, actually, most of that stuff falls down, the solid stuff falls down on the ground, back on Enceladus, but some 4% of the material ends up going into the E-ring. It forms the E-ring.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's very cool.
Yes, it was very cool. And we showed that we did modeling simulations of these tendrils that you see coming off Enceladus at long distances, tens of thousands of kilometers away. And we could show that they were created by the geysers. So it was like a slam dunk. It was really cool.
By the way, the Pentagon has an E-ring. Just thought I'd tell you.
Oh,
Okay, so-
all right. I'll keep that in mind.
So what did I hear recently, Carolyn, about tasking the James Webb Space Telescope to look at this very phenomenon?
Yes, the James Webb Space Telescope, which, by the way, I'm sure it's blown your mind. It's blown my mind. It's blown everybody's minds. It's just fantastic the way that whole thing has been working perfectly. And it also took a look at Enceladus. Okay, we'd never seen the plume from, anywhere other than Saturn. Actually, Voyager also saw the plume, but faintly. And here we have James Webb now has the ability to look at this plume and monitor it. And there's a collection of scientists. They were the team that did this. And they're going to keep looking at it. I guess what I'm saying, it means that we can continue to monitor it before the mission goes back long after I'm dead. That's what I mean.
Okay, there you go. Unless you live forever, which might still happen.
Pacifico is for those who create their own path. That's living life acres up.
All right, so Chuck, time for a couple more questions. What do you have?
Okay, here we go.
This is
This
a big
is Samuel
base.
Tomka.
Holy
And
crap.
Samuel says, hello, Dr. Porco. Greetings from Slovakia. My name is Samuel, and I was wondering, will the day come when we can live stream video as our probes allow us to watch in real time flybys of celestial bodies? Why don't we already
Ooh.
have such a system in place?
Yeah.
So videos, okay, so what are we, the question is, you're not going to have somebody out there taking a video of a spacecraft flying by a planet, so he doesn't mean those kind of videos. And we actually have sort of done things like that. I mean, remember, video is lots and lots of data volume, and you have to get that stuff down to the ground, and we have lots of instruments that want to take data and get their data down to the ground, so we can't take an indefinite amount of data volume, even though it would be cool to do. So videos take a lot of space, a lot of downlink, we call it. So, but we did take imagery. We did this. You could look at the Cyclops.org website, and we have a little page called Theater, and video clips or whatever, where we made video clips, for example, when we flew by Iapetus. And we put together some imagery. It's kind of clunky, but we were able to show what it looked like as we went by.
So Cyclops is the name of what, then?
It stands for Cassini Imaging Central Laboratory for Operations. So it's CICLOPS, and it was the center. It was the center where we, the imaging team, actually my staff members and I, set up the uplink and downlink operations for the imaging team.
Nice.
Okay,
nice.
and now, since that's disbanded and there's no more of that, Cyclops.org is the website. That's my website, where all the Saturn imagery is, and lots of other stuff is put.
We can find it there. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right, Chuck, give me more.
Okay, this is Captain James Riley, and he says, hello, Dr. Porco. I've heard that the Hubble Deep Field image was a use of director's time aimed at an empty point in space. Since that worked out so well, are we doing more at aiming at empty spots, or are there telescopes scheduled to pretty much lock up on things that we just want a better look at, like nothing?
I think there are telescopes on the ground, and Neil probably knows this better than I do. Telescopes that are on spacecraft or plan to be on spacecraft that will do surveys of the entire sky. So they're not just looking at one tiny little bit; they're doing entire surveys.
Well, just to be clear, it's not a survey of known objects. It's just a survey of areas of the sky, no matter what's there. That's
It's
the
a-
matter. Okay.
It's a survey of the sky, the entire sky. Okay, so that's better than just, looking at one little spot. And this brings up something I would love to talk about if we can, and that is that there are plans for enormous telescopes, ground-based telescopes. The Giant Magellan Telescope, the extra-large telescope. These are just enormous telescopes to be built on the ground, to be able to look at the heavens from the surface of the Earth. And I am deeply concerned about all the traffic that will be in low Earth orbit. That is going to, all these satellites, these internet constellations that are going to impair ground-based observations, not only in the visible, because they'll be streaking across fields of view, and there's going to be many, many more of them in the future, but also in the radio region of the spectrum, it's going to harm radio observations, even search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
And you know what else it'll do? It creates signatures of moving objects in the sky when you might be trying to find an asteroid that has our name on it headed towards us. And if the noise level of imagery goes up, you could possibly lose one of these killer asteroids.
There's lots of bad things that could happen, and right now the whole thing is just, it's poorly, if at all, regulated. There's insufficient monitoring, tracking. There are protocols for what happens in the event of an imminent crash. Really, I think
I'll say it again. NASA cares. Everybody else just wants the money.
Well, NASA is supporting this. I was very, very disturbed to find out that they want to encourage this, and I think it's a bad thing. As of about 9 months ago, and it could very well have changed, there were proposed and approved satellites, totaling 430,000.
That's
and there's
insane.
No, actually, as of about 6 months ago, there was 6,000 up there. And in order to appreciate what this means, before mid-2019, which was the first launch of the SpaceX Starlink satellites, before that, 6.5 decades of exploration by nation states had left an accumulation of 3,700 satellites in orbit around the Earth. About half of them were alive, about half of them were dead. And as of about, 6 months ago, I think it was,
6 months,
maybe 9 months ago, there was 6,000. And there are proposed, and maybe already approved and proposed, 430,000. That's 70 times what's up there now. So
it's the end of the night sky. The end of the night sky.
Oh, that's another thing I want to say is the night sky. The night sky belongs to all of us. It's the only thing you can lay your eyes on that's 13.8 billion years old. I go to the night sky to check in on the meaning of my life. I mean that. Where else can you find that kind of perspective? And it will be ruined. It will be ruined not only for professional astronomers, it will be ruined for people who just love to look up and remember where they really are.
You know that feeling of having to rewash dishes that didn't get clean? I don't.
New Cascade Platinum Plus with double the Dawn grease fighting power and double the scrubbing power for a no rewash clean and a cabinet ready shine. Upgrade to new Cascade Platinum Plus. Dare to dish differently.
Yeah, my ending comment on every show is keep looking up, and now it's like keep looking up and look at all the satellites. That's all you're gonna see. Chuck, we might have time for one more question. One more to slip in there.
Yeah. Wow, that was disturbing what we just talked about.
It doesn't fit in with your humor thing, so I don't know if you'll use it, but.
Well, no. Believe it or not, we've had Morbajah, who is
an orbital dynamicist specializing in cleaning up the space environment.
Junk. Right.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so
he's in the Department of Aerospace Engineering at University of Texas at Austin.
Absolutely.
So Morbajah.
Morbajah.
Yeah.
So check out his work. Okay, here we go. This is Mohammed Saif, and he says, hello, Dr. Tyson. Hello, Dr. Porco. And hopefully Chuck. Well, thank you, Mohammed. He says, my name is Saif from the land down under, and my question for Carolyn is, as a part of your association with Cassini, Voyager, and New Horizon, what is the least known but most fascinating thing you have seen or noticed?
Oh my goodness.
What's the thing we would never see or know that you know?
She can't talk about that. This is but okay, the second most fascinating.
Well, okay, so here's something that I think is fascinating, and most people don't know about it. We found, again, this is my research group, we found in the rings of Saturn a type of wave near the outer edge of the B ring, which I had done my thesis on many, many years ago. So I was anxious to look more closely at this. And we found evidence of these free, normal modes of the rings, where these waves are sloshing back and forth from the place where they get self-excited. These are not waves that are excited by an orbiting satellite. They're self-excited. They slosh up again. They travel up against the B ring, the outer edge of the B ring, which is held by a resonance with Mimas. It's held sharp. They reflect off the outer edge of the B ring. They travel inwards. They reflect off their inner origin point. They go back and forth, and they can be amplified and they're spiral waves. They can be amplified, and you can see them actually in the motion of the outer edge of the B-ring. And the reason why this is so exciting is because these kind of waves are predicted to exist in protoplanetary disks around protostellar disks around stars, and even in spiral galaxies. In fact, they can be responsible for the spiral arms in galaxies, and you can't measure their motion in a galaxy because the rotation periods in a galaxy are like 200 million years.
Yeah.
But we found the smaller version of them, the Saturn ring equivalent, in Saturn's ring. So it really was so thrilling to find something that really exists on a galactic scale, and we found evidence of it in Saturn's rings.
Wow.
Love it. I love it. In fact, that's a scientist's great dream to discover something in their own field that affects other fields as well.
Yeah.
In this case, it's all astrophysics, but it's not often that the planetary folks talk to the galactic folks. That
I know.
Hardly ever
well,
happens.
we made it. We put it out there, so it's there for people to know.
Congratulations on that. Very cool.
Thank you.
One last thing. I want to ask. I got this. I'm going to end with this question.
Go ahead.
What's up with that hexagon on Saturn's south pole?
The hexagon. Everybody loves a hexagon. Whenever
I don't. Hexagons don't belong in a gas. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you, Chuck. That's how I felt. Chuck, look at it's like a perfect hexagon made out of gas.
That's
if I'm made out of gas, I ain't giving you a hexagon.
Yeah, it's got to tell you, I am made out of gas, and I'm letting you know right now, no hexagons here.
So take us out with what the hell that was.
Okay, so I just want to say though, whenever we posted anything about the hexagon on our website, the hits went through the roof.
Yeah.
Because people couldn't get their head around this. And there were people who genuinely thought it was crystal energy. There must be something inside Saturn creating this. It is a jet stream. Just like the polar jet stream we have here on the Earth, it is just a river of gas that if you took it and stretched it out, so it's circling the pole, right? We'll just take it, stretch it out. It would be a six conjoined waves, crests and troughs, just like that. But when you take it and you wrap it around a globe, it gives the impression that it has sides. But that's just because you're stretching out what are you stretching out? You're stretching out the crests. The crests suddenly become stretched out, and so that's what it is. And it's and the reason why we found it on Voyager, it's still screaming around at something like 220 miles an hour, going around Saturn, 30, 40 years, whatever it is since Voyager saw it at Saturn. It's because any atmospheric systems on Saturn or any of the giant planets that get started up, they don't run down because you don't have a solid surface underneath the atmosphere of any of the giant planets. So there's no friction to run them down. Once they get started, they continue. It's the same thing with the Great Red Spot.
Jupiter, right.
The Great Red Spot has been doing that for hundreds of years.
Right.
At least hundreds of years.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say that's awfully convenient there, Carolyn. That's all I can say.
What's convenient? What's convenient?
You just have a perfect little explanation for straight lines in nature. Okay.
I can tell you. Here's how to say that, Chuck. Here's how to say that. Say, Carolyn, if it's so obvious, why wasn't it predicted to be there before anyone found it?
There are a lot of things that are obvious in hindsight that no one took the time to predict. So
okay, that's the answer. So, Carolyn, thank you for being on Star Talk once again. You're a good friend of our show. In fact, you even hosted Star Talk All Stars back when that was a running part of our portfolio. So I want to thank you for your service, as it were.
Thank you for having me. I love being here. It's fun being with you guys.
I need affirmations. Okay, if we call you Madam Saturn, that's okay.
Continue calling me Madam Saturn. Like you, Saturn is probably my favorite planet after the Earth.
Yes. Okay.
But Neptune is a close third.
No, not for me.
A
No.
close second. A close second. I'm sorry. Neptune would be a close second. But anyway.
This has been Star Talk, and I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Meet your next pillow. Why do we make our pillow in the shape of a cube? I'll tell you. The problem with pillows is that you're trying...
YouTube ads, they got me. Whoa.
Kind of bored.
We can play with these dolls.
Yeah.
Hey, Barbie, that was an amazing date. You want to go back to my place? Check out the hot tub?
Yeah. That sounds good.
Oh, sweet. Let's go.
I guess Barbie's already in her swimsuit, so I don't really have to do anything. Your doll have a swimsuit? I guess. Oh, absolutely not. No. You look awful. Are you kidding me? Do you have any idea how long it takes me to get ready, especially for a date and to get into a hot tub? You look like a hot dog that was rolled down the floor of a barber shop. You look disgusting. No, absolutely not. You can't just roll out of bed, barely shower, and put on dollar store deodorant and expect to get with this. No. You gotta manscape, just like in real life. By the way, where did you even buy a doll that has pubes like that?
It was on clearance.
I can see why.
Guys, Manscaped's Perfect Package 4.0 has everything you need to make you look your best. The Lawnmower 4.0 and Weed Whacker 2.0 make taking care of unwanted hair easier than ever. Get 20% off with free shipping off your order now at manscaped.com/AngryJoJo. Plus 2 free gifts.
Hey, guess what movie we just got back from? That's right, we did the Barbie-Heimer double feature, and we just got back from Barbie. We're dressed apart. Alex, looking dapper, looking like a what'd you say earlier?
Shitty frat dude asshole. Skylar, my dad owns a dealership.
Hey man, we can drive any car we want. Okay, so surprisingly, there was a lot of people dressed up in pink, and everybody's kind of having a good time. So, yes, we did it. We went and saw Barbie, and I guess, I mean, obviously, this film is not really marketed towards us. You know, it's not especially written for straight men. Imagine that. That it tackles the experiences of, wait for it, little girls and women growing up in the real world. And, but surprisingly, there's musical numbers, there's a lot of jokes, and surprisingly, Barbie was really funny at times. I was laughing out loud. I was really surprised. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of cringe. There are unbearable moments, and then there's fun moments. And it does get overly preachy, in my opinion, and it could have handled its message much better. Like, I was having so much fun in the first 30 minutes, other than being annoyed by, the happiness of, hello, Barbie, They say the word Barbie like, I'm going to rip, if you say it one more time, I'm going to rip my eyes out. But the standout star of this film for me was Ken. I was just having so much fun with Ryan Gosling's performance as Ken. He is just funny as hell. And many are gonna call this film man-hating. I see. I mean, there's no doubt some of that here with with reason. It's kind of annoying to see, but and sometimes it comes off a little weird, a little hypocritical. But it's serving an argument. And, some people out there they rage about something like that. They can't stand listening to another point of view, even if you don't agree with it. But I was surprised at, the satire and some of the areas that they went to. I didn't expect a lot of subversive kind of content there. So, but ultimately, it's like, man, I wanted to like it more than I did. I had a lot of laugh out loud moments, and I want to rewatch those. But would I rewatch the Barbie film? I don't think so. I think, once was enough for me. And that overly preachiness, and there are moments where it just screeches to a halt to give a huge ranty speech. I guess what I'm trying to say is, even when I agree with the message, when you're so heavy-handed with it, it kind of does a disservice, in my opinion. But obviously, that's for my audience. Maybe they don't really care about our target market. They're talking to women, and they're talking to, you know, a certain different target market. But that's kind of what I thought of Barbie. What did you think, Joe?
Watching the trailer, I did not want to watch this. I looked dumb, but I guess it was dumb fun, because I actually did enjoy it. I didn't love it. But I had a good time with it. I had a couple drinks. You need a couple drinks with this, because you said it was pretty cringy. It gets annoying, just the repetition. I guess that's just the mundane. She gets bored of that stuff. But like you said, the message was just like hammered too much. I was like, look, I get what you're going for. Be a little bit more subtle with it.
Yeah.
Dial it back. And there's gonna be a whole bunch of like videos of this.
Yeah.
It's gonna
there's certain people that are gonna go fucking crazy, and don't be those people. I mean, I can see, you're not agreeing with the message, but it just makes you look embarrassing.
Margot did a great job. I love her performance as Barbie. Ken, obviously, fucking amazing. He had some great lines. He just had some standout lines.
Hilarious.
So I did enjoy it, but
we've got a big problem. That's the biggest net I've ever seen.
See you later, chum.
Meg 2, The Trench, rated PG-13.
Will you prove your wisdom or your courage?
For this one, I would kind of.
There's some problems. The acting's great. It's kind of let down by, I guess maybe the middle. I really enjoyed the beginning, and then I guess it kind of picks it back up towards the end. It's just let down a little bit. The script lets him down.
Yeah, but also felt like Will Ferrell's character just like.
Yes, why is Will Ferrell in every fucking movie? And I don't like the fact that Mattel in this, they do Mattel in this, but it kind of breaks the rules. The Mattel is too cartoony.
Yeah.
For the real world. They have a distinction between Barbie world and the real world, but Mattel breaks that, and that whole subplot goes nowhere. It was there to develop Barbie, and the biggest sin of the film, I think, is that Barbie never really comes into her own as a nice, badass character. It's like everybody else, because they wanted to make sure, hey, there's this Barbie and that Barbie, there's smart Barbie and President Barbie and fat Barbie and fucking, this Barbie. Yeah, it's every kind of Barbie. And so I guess they have to have, it's a collective effort, right? But it takes away from the tiny character Barbie, which I think, comes in issue. Alex, you seem extremely excited to go watch the film.
Yeah, this movie, it was funny. It was funny enough. It's not for me. And I agree with the message too. Like this is a movie where the message is important, but I felt like that they showcased the message versus showcasing the movie, and it was disappointing. So like, there's interesting stuff that's happening here. There's interesting potential, and then it just falls flat for a long period of time. I had no beers, and so I wasn't, and so I was like, I'm gonna run all this movie and see what it's like. But it's just it was what I thought it was going to be. It was a movie that was absolutely not written for me, and it's a message that I agree with. I think that people, it is important for young girls to realize that there can be things that they're going to need to overcome, and that there are a lot of double standards within society. I get it. The problem is they repeated what I just said like 40 fucking times, and then a preaching message is not a replacement for conflict resolution. Okay, so when you set up something and there's potential for things to happen, and they're like, well, we're going to solve our script writing problems with, and then they get a speech, and then they get the soapbox, and they get a soapbox, and they get a soapbox. And so it's
too many.
I get that there were some funny parts of the movie, and there were some interesting things. The movie had style, like absolutely incredible amounts of style. Ryan Gosling killed it. Margot Robbie was really good, but it's just, I don't think this movie is great. This movie wasn't, I don't hate it. I'm not tempted, but I don't think that anyone who has anyone near close to my taste should go spend money for this movie, because it's not for you.
Yeah, me neither. If you're female, I think you'd probably enjoy it a little bit better. But if you are having an aversion to overly preachy movies, overly that talk about the patriarchy, that talk about feminism, that talk about, modern society, that's going to grate on your nerves a little bit. And I don't mind movies that do it, but when you're that heavy-handed where the film comes to a screeching halt and I feel like I'm in improvisational theater watching, some, actress go on a big rant. Yeah, it feels like, that I don't want to compare it to that. There are moments where, somebody will go on a rant and, the message, you can agree with the message, but it kind of does it a disservice and it kind of falls apart. And that's kind of what happens here.
This is a lot in his repetition. I mean, there was actually one or two really great speeches, and if they had listed, they had kept it to those and put them, 3/4 of the way through the movie, and at the very end to really nail the point down, I think you would have been better served. And again, this is someone who agrees with the message. It's just like they did not handle it as well as like some of our other movies and some other films that actually handle the same thing. So, and then on top of that, you're preaching to the fucking choir. It's like, I'm in your choir, right? You're telling me the message, and all you're doing is you made a movie that is going. I mean, right now there's 100 YouTube videos being uploaded.
I'll pick on the one guy that has that. He does swords and stuff. My man, to actually go to this film and get that upset over it,
there was a good opportunity for them to actually explain to people that may not agree with them, like some of the situations that they're dealing with. Yeah. And I think they went so ham-fisted that you're really just preaching to the people you already got.
You're right. You're not convincing these other people. You're only pissing them off more and giving them fuel for their hate fire. Yeah. Now, here's the it's a damn shame because it was coming really close. I was having a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and I was like, cool, we get this Barbie, and I'm on with the satire, I'm on with all that shit. But as soon as we ran into that patriarchy, and then everything kind of turned into patriarchy, and it's a battle of the sexes movie. That's a good way of putting it. A battle of the sexes. Guess which side wins? Okay, it's a Barbie film, so don't think that the men are gonna win, right?
Justice for men.
Justice for men, right?
No, Alan.
Oh, Alan. No, I agree. Justice for Alan. But honestly, I hope there's no sequel. I don't want to see a Barbie 2 or anything like that. I think it works as a self-contained film. I'm so confused by the ending. They wanted to give Barbie something special to do at the end, and I was like, that was fucking stupid. Okay, cool. It just runs out of steam, in my opinion. And then they do one thing where I think that's too much spoilers territory. But it's something having to do with Ken and Barbie's relationship, which I think will rub some couples the wrong way. Because some people are like, yeah, Ken and Barbie, man. And they're going to leave this theater like, oh, so that's canon now? I'm not sure about that. I wasn't sure about it either. I'm like, well, why? Okay, I get it. Anyways, we'll talk about that in spoilers. But there are musical numbers, which, I don't really like musical numbers, but there was so much energy during that first one, and it is in the Barbie world, so I allowed it, and I actually had a little bit of fun with it. I thought the musical numbers, and when the men are dancing, and, it's because Ken versus Ken. All that Ken versus Ken stuff was hilarious to me. Well choreographed. Sets are beautiful. Music's good. Everything's running. And initially I hated, there's another musical number towards the end, Ken's, but it kind of won me over in the end. And so I'm down with that. And it's just a shame because I want to go and rewatch it, but all that preachy and overly heavily-handed stuff, I would just gloss over. And so I think the plot kind of lets it down, and the script lets it down. But there are some cool moments and interesting moments, but it is uneven, to say the least. So let's go into final verdicts, and we'll jump into spoilers after.
I'm gonna go with a 6. Above average. I did like it. It was fun, entertaining to watch, but at the same time, like you said, like once I thought it was gonna be like a fish out of water. It's like, okay, you gotta solve a problem with you and Ken and do this stuff, but as soon as
go into the real world.
Yeah, as soon as the social commentary showed up, I'm like, okay, I get it. But
how are you gonna handle it?
Of that, I was like,
an hour of it.
You can't just do that, like.
It's everything, Joe.
It is. There's just too much. So, yeah. we'd have to
It makes it less fun.
Yeah, because like again, if they would just kept it to the beginning and done something subtle, it would have been great. It was like, holy shit, I didn't expect this. I had a blast, but
you see that point where it could have gone either way, and it makes me sad because there's a Barbie film there that I would rewatch and that I would recommend everybody to go out and see. As crazy as it sounds, the cast is amazing. Like Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, perfect. She is Barbie. He is Ken. Love it.
Yeah, it was perfect. But other than that, like, no, 6.
Double 4. I love and hate season 1. People have wanted me to watch this. Is this the one? This is the one, isn't it? This is the one.
I've been playing season 1 for 6 hours straight.
Wait. Hold up.
I've been playing season 1 for 6 hours straight. This is going to be my first impressions on so far how I have felt about it. Couple things to keep in mind. I am playing hardcore and I am playing solo, and I am not min-maxing any build. I specifically don't really know anything about the minion build. I decided I want to do Thorns and I want to do Minion, and I want to try out the new Bloodlance aspect and try out the new Caged Hearts, etc. So I'm kind of going into it from a fresh perspective, much like I did when the game actually originally launched. Now, I'm going to say first of all, and I'll go into my reasons why.
Wow, the inventory looks great. Man, I can't wait.
But this has been more fun in season 1 than I expected. It actually was quite enjoyable. The reason for this is I don't know if this is just a Necromancer thing or not, but the Caged Hearts, even the ones you get early, actually feel pretty good. Surprisingly good, and I will give you one such example now. So the new hearts I have do multiple things, but one of the ones I have automatically cast whatever is on my corpse bar. For instance, it actually counts Ray Skeleton as one, and it counts Corpse Tendros as one. What's amazing about this is it has a completely separate cooldown and spam than the actual one I have. You can see Corpse Tendros is actually proccing very often.
That's
the way this actually works is it goes left to right. So if I have Corpse Tendros here, and then I have Corpse Explosion here, it's actually going to do the one I want here first, and then it will do this one if this one is currently on cooldown, okay?
That's
now,
good.
Ray's Skeleton itself actually works with this too, which is very surprising. So if I go here and I put in Decrepify, lose all my minions, okay, and then I put minions back right on the bar here, now I have no minions. But watch what happens. It is actually a fairly intelligent Caged Heart. And if you're wondering what's doing this, it's this one right here. Vicious Heart, walking near corpses, automatically activates an equipped corpse skill. With summoning...
Does that mean that the skeletons do less damage, though? I wonder. Because it said that the skill does 38% less damage. No? Okay.
This is a summoning skill, not just a corpse skill, but it's smart enough to know exactly that this is also should basically be a corpse skill. So watch what happens here. You kill it, it summons the minion, and it jump starts to know that we should be doing skeleton as the priority. So it's going to automatically summon my minions back. Now you might be thinking, okay, well this is nice, you don't have to spam this as well, but it actually gets
so it auto priorities skeleton?
Better, because what I'm doing here is with my skeleton mages, each time a bones mage dies from its own attack, they leave behind a corpse and fortify you. So my bone mages are killing themselves, leaving a corpse, automatically being resummoned, which fortifies me again. So I'm getting this additional tanky bit, which is actually really awesome. What's more hilarious about this is when you have at least 4 enemies near you, you gain an aura that automatically curses surrounding enemies with Decrepify. So I have Decrepify, but I don't even need it on my bar because it is automatically casting this when I'm surrounded by minions. So here we go. Here's some minions. I'm going to jump off and get near them. And now you can see there's a bunch of minions around me, and now it's casting Decrepify. Well, the cool thing about this is, let's say I go ahead and decide that I'm going to use Blood Mist, right? Let's get Blood Mist on the bar here. Let's get Blood Mist on the bar. There we go. When I use this, my cooldown actually starts going down as well from proccing damage. The reason for this is, if you look at my Decrepify, I have a spec where enemies hit while afflicted with Decrepify have a 15% chance to reduce your active cooldown. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's kind of cool, not too big of a deal. But then you have to remember that this actually has the automatic casting from things like Corpse Explosion as well. So if I am in a Blood Mist and I'm near, it is still going to cast and explode corpses. What this actually means for me is that once we have the boots that makes it where the Blood Mist explosion is at... I actually just lost my hardcore...
Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god! Wait, what the fuck?
character while trying to explain this to you. I changed my mind. I hate this season.
Oh no.
Wow.
Depression. Guess what? I'm going to therapy. Okay.
Said this, and I agreed with him a lot. Is that WoW 2, like WoW 1 was like vanilla to Wrath, and WoW 2 was Cataclysm to WoD, and then WoW 3 was I would say Legion to probably Shadowlands, and I think that WoW 4, I don't know if we're really into 4 yet, but we're getting pretty close to it, would be Dragonflight. Classic Warcraft's massive future in 2024.
Have you dreamed about World of Warcraft 2? The graphics of Unreal Engine 5, incredibly lifelike NPCs, beautiful zones, big titty Sally. That one honestly might just be me. Anyway, we've all thought about it over the years. The perfect sequel to World of Warcraft, which somehow is still the top dog after nearly 20 years. But let's be honest, we aren't getting that because the riots we'd have from all the neckbeards, myself included, who have 20,000 hours and hundreds of useless mounts, transmogs, achievements, and all that other shit we don't ever use would be terrifying. Just think.
I would be completely okay with that. As somebody who probably has more of that stuff than anybody else, just let me log into the original game, but
you killed my
the
wife.
second one. Yep, it's time to move on. Let's go. Come on, new game.
Imagine 100,000 Asmongols marching down the street in protest. But that mentality is a really bad take from people because all those achievements, mounts, transmogs, and the other bullshit we've collected over the past 2 decades, those could simply be fond memories we think of as we spend another 20,000 hours collecting newer things.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Nah, it won't happen. Classic Plus, on the other hand, now that is something we can get and something that we should get. Looking at this,
that's what I think too. Like, I think the idea of them making a WoW 2 is like, it's pretty much not going to happen. Right? I want to see Classic Plus.
I made
because
you,
I think
Gerda.
that, like, WoW has just had so much bloat over the years. I think the original WoW was great.
Success of Classic Plus private servers like Turtle WoW, at the success of Hardcore on Classic.
I heard from my friend Dylan said that his brother said that Joe Rogan died in general chat of Turtle WoW, and then the mods banned him. They literally perma-banned his account for saying that Joe Rogan died. And Dylan texted me, he's like, dude, please, like, Turtle WoW sucks, man. Don't ever play on that server, man. That server is fucking garbage.
At the success of Hardcore on Classic, as well as the myriad of other Classic Plus private servers that are doing very well, we can see that there's a large demand for Classic WoW that keeps going and just doesn't stop. Blizzard was completely wrong about players not wanting Classic, and it'd be wrong to think we don't want Classic Plus. I mean, honestly, we just want WoW 2, but we'll settle for Classic Plus. It'll also probably cost just a fraction of the price.
I think Classic Plus is probably better because you've got to think, like, let me just go ahead. Let's get a reality check here, just real quick. And I don't like to do this, but we're going to do it. Who's making WoW 2? The people that made Shadowlands and Dragonflight. Says a lot. Yikes.
Of making World of Warcraft 2, whilst giving people a glimpse of it. Since WoW was released in 2004, it's had an ungodly amount of updates and expansions. Some pleasant, some vilified, and some people that initially hated it back in the day now reminisce about it fondly as if they weren't raging.
Look at all my
friends back then.
Yay! I told y'all, like, about Wrath. I think Wrath class design is the best out of all 3 of them. I think Wrath is better than Vanilla. I think it's better than Burning Crusade. But the end-game gameplay of Wrath is not very good. That's just the truth. It's not very good.
People keep wanting to go back to the roots of WoW because they miss the nostalgia, the community, the simplicity, and the lore. For a large portion of people who actively play WoW or consume WoW content, most of us have been playing since we were kids or teenagers. We have incredible memories and we want to relive those memories. This isn't a nostalgia bait video. I've done that already, twice in fact, just like every other WoW content creator. But nostalgia plays a part in why people like Classic WoW. And that's why Classic Plus would be a huge boon to the game, because you'd get to create new memories, exploring and discovering the world of Classic with new features, raids, content, and more. more. And it would give guilds a reason to be active and not just be raid loggers waiting for the next raid. Imagine the excitement of new farm locations, discovering secrets out in the open world.
I don't want them to add in. You can tell, by the way, one way to tell if it's retail WoW Arena or classic WoW is that if you don't know what's happening on the screen, it's retail WoW. Yeah. If you can't tell what's happening, it's retail WoW. Very simple. I don't want to see them add in a bunch of new stuff to keep people logging in daily for Classic Plus. The reason why Classic is really good is because there are things that you have to do, but you can do them, like theoretically, you can farm out consumables for 6 months and then just raid log every single week. Or you can farm consumables every single week. Like, I don't want to see them add in a bunch of mandatory fun activities.
Full PvP zones, and more things for players to sink their teeth into. Or I'd hope so at least. Maybe people would be less antisocial with these changes. If you want to play a single player MMO, just play Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail. They could
I tremendously disagree with this take. And I think that, like, for example, if you look at a lot of the really successful RuneScape things that they've added, at least my understanding of it, is like they've added this Inferno thing, and there was like a Hydra that you had to fight. And I think that MMOs are becoming... The idea that you are part of a permanent world doesn't mean... A permanent world that's shared with other people doesn't mean that you always have to be actively cooperating with those people in order to take part in that world. And I think seeing things like people soloing the Inferno and a lot of solo content in MMOs, I think that's great, and I feel like that's the future. Is having solo content in MMOs that allow players to distinguish themselves and show it off to other people in the main city. And why do I think that? Because it seems like that's what happens every time that they add solo stuff. It's because people like it more. And also, a lot of things that people do, keep in mind, think about hardcore. Hardcore WoW is primarily a solo game. Really, like, I mean, most people play hardcore solo, and they group maybe once a week. So I think hardcore, if anything, is a great argument for what I'm saying. Yeah, Mage Tower, you've got all the RuneScape stuff, you've got things like Final Fantasy, the Necromancer shit, but obviously Deep Dungeon is like really not that popular, so probably not a great example. I remember people liked watching me do like the Lost Ark Guardian solo, Iron Man mode. Yeah, that's why BDO is popular. A lot of games are popular because of that.
Also make the game more difficult. Give harder difficulties to classic
People
raid.
want to exist in a public space but do their own shit? Exactly, dude. Fucking exactly. That's what I want to see.
Add new mechanics.
Remember this guy? Remember whenever the Alliance had a king and not a pussy? Those were the good days, huh? It was a long time ago? Yeah.
For Molten Core, for example. WoW has gotten far more challenging over the years, but the challenge isn't
Keep in mind,
necessarily
Varian
good
1v1
or fun.
Garrosh
If you've
and beat
done
him.
Mythic Plus or Mythic raiding in retail, you can understand what I'm saying. I was never really savvy enough to go balls to the walls with it, but pointlessly complex mechanics that counteract the powerful add-ons isn't exactly the definition of fun. They could add difficulty that was less reliant on dodge the 55 missiles coming out of Ragnaros' booty hole.
Oh, bro, like this fight.
I have no money.
This fight was a. This was a guild breaker. This was actually so fucking brutal.
And avoid this cock slam that happens exactly every 3.4 seconds. And if one person gets hit, you all die. And instead, they could add more ads, a few more phases. Heck, even add cooler music to get your blood pumping. Listen to this Final Fantasy XIV OST right here.
I feel like he picked the worst one. This is like the worst one. Like, why not show like the last phase of like Zervan or like Bahamut? Great King Mughal
I'm
Mog,
not a content designer. I don't know how hard or easy it is to design content. I'm just saying difficulty should be more about a challenge and not calculating the trajectory and location of where the US military will firebomb the Middle East. And tying back into what I said about the game above, people love Classic and by extension Classic Plus because of the simplicity of the game. After almost...
Well, they also like the fact that the game is open-ended and you don't have to make decisions based off of what the game tells you to do. There's no battle pass, there's no login rewards, there's no weeklies, there's no dailies. Hardly. You can just go in there and play the game and enjoy yourself. I think that's a big factor. That's why people like it. And also, leveling matters.
2 decades of bloat, retail feels like it's limping along, patching its cuts, its bruises, and its wounds rather than actively taking care of the core issues. Classic didn't have all that excess bloat, and Classic Plus could improve and add on to the simple features that made Classic, Classic, with things like more quest lines and chains for unique rewards, and improvement on the talents in the game. And a mild class and talent revamp for the more useless classes.
I think that they should do that too. There's no reason that Rep Paladins should be as shitty as they are in Classic WoW. It's stupid. And it's the same with Moon Boys.
For example, Shadow Priest not being as poorly designed as it is, or
Well, Shadow Priest, half of the reason why Shadow Priest was bad in Classic, my understanding, is because of the debuff limit. It's the same reason why people didn't play Affliction as much. Like, I'm pretty sure it still gets outperformed by other stuff, but the debuff limit is a big factor. Mana? Oh, mana was a big thing even in Burning Crusade.
Paladin being a tank, and guess what? Actually having a taunt. Throw in more races that people actually want, like ogres and high elves, cross-faction guild, and groupings so that whilst the PvP sweatlords battle it out, orc versus human, me on the other hand can go on a picnic with an orc and a human. Whether PvP stays separate or not is a different question. The balance...
Yeah, I think that they, like, for cross-realm grouping, I kind of wouldn't want to see that in, like, Classic Plus. But I would want to see, like, if they did a PvP and a PvE server for Classic Plus, I'd want them to have, like, cross-realm or cross-faction grouping for the PvE server.
And we'll have to figure that one out. But PvE has no reason to be kept separate. Add in reputations to grind and have more systems tied to it. Let me grind some useless reputation like Zug Zug's Premier Fishing and have the Exalted Reward be a club that you fish with. Add way more dungeons, more places to explore and discover, interesting farming spots like Grimbatol, Stratholm proper, Ruins of Hyjal, Oralis and Gilnaves. Design and expand on the classic PvP system. Just make it better than what it is, but keep it...
Well, they've made a lot of changes to the classic PvP system. Like, they made it to where, like, you don't D-rank anymore, and you're not really competing against, like, other people. You're competing against, like, yourself, if that makes sense. And like, yeah, they've done that, which is good. But, like, yeah, I don't want to see any, like, this right here. No. No more of these.
Unique in the way that it was. But most of all, more important than anything else I just listed, is going back to the beginning with the lore, before we as the players were champions of Azeroth, protectors of the galaxy, the feeder of the Burning Legion, master of insert class here, killer of God, and back to when we were just simple adventurers exploring, discovering, and banding together in the hundreds to defeat major villains.
I've said before that I think that Final Fantasy convinced me that having a main story where your character is literally the savior of the world is actually not problematic fundamentally to an MMO, but I do prefer having an adventurer-based game. Like, I think that it can work without it, but I want to have a game where you start at 0. And the reason why is that whenever you have a character story and your character is treated as if they did something, that is directing the RP of your character. And whenever I used to play WoW, I was a lot younger, I never really role-played in the game, right? I'm not a role player, as you guys know. I never did GTRP or anything like that. But there is a soft role-play that you do, kind of, where, like, you're playing a human warrior, and you want to feel like you are your class. And whenever you do that, and you're constantly having your character be referred to as certain things, that can actively conflict with a person's or a player's headcanon of what their character is. You see kind of what I mean? And that's why I like stories that treat the player like an adventurer rather than, you know, some sort of, like, massive hero. Give an example? Sure. So, like, let's say, like, I always viewed my barbarian as the barbarian that I played in, or my warrior as the barbarian I played in Dungeons and Dragons, where it was just an asshole, belligerent, doesn't care about anything except for getting more things and doesn't even care about the things whenever he gets them, right? And so, you know, not a hero, not a savior, not a team player, always out for himself, only cares about himself, and he has other friends, and they all work together, and they have, like, you know, a mutual understanding. That's about it, right? Like, a literal fucking barbarian. So whenever you go into the city, and they're like, wow, you've saved everybody. Everybody, look, it's the hero who saved everyone.